Hey guys, let's talk about pornography. Let's talk about the porno. A lot of people watch it. Guys, gals, people of all ages, whether you should or you shouldn't be. It's all over the place. It's very hard to escape the porn in today's society. This um, this podcast is going to be about how you can quit it. So at first I discuss about some ways you can identify if you got a problem. I think a lot of people, that's the biggest thing, man. Do you have a problem with porn that you should even quit to begin with? Second part, then I actually go through some strategies from a guy named Ed Lattimore. And then I talk about some of my own personal strategies that I'm using to kick the porn habit as well. So get ready, guys. This is going to be an interesting one. Remember, you can check out my YouTube channel, Taylor space Stutch, Taylor space Stutch, Stuch. Follow me on Twitter, tstutch1. You can go to my website, tstutch.com, tstuch.com, and email me at tayradio1@gmail.com. Thank you. Enjoy the show. Hello, guys. Let's talk about pornographic images, pornographic videos, pornographic sounds. So, actually, I want to talk about porn addiction, or not porn addiction, but let's say getting off of porn. So, I would definitely say that I am not addicted to porn, at least not at the moment. I think every guy in this day and age has their battles, has their fights with the porno, with the devil's images, the devil's movies. That's just kind of the nature of the world we live in. You know, it's, for one, it's all over the TV screen. So when you're a kid, you get used to seeing, women and men like half naked and doing all kinds of weird stuff. And then, of course, nowadays with the internet, it's just so easy to start watching porn that it's not even fair for somebody that doesn't want to watch it. It's tough because it is everywhere, and it's easy, very easy to get stuck watching it. And when it talks about having a problem, the first thing you got to admit to solve your problem is that you got a problem. And on a little tangent here, so when it comes to, I'll just talk about internet addiction for a second. I am pretty confident. Actually, I know it. I am totally addicted to being online. I'm addicted to the internet. I'm addicted to being connected to information. That's just the truth. I do that a lot. I waste a lot of time doing it. And sometimes I'm productive, sometimes I'm not. And similar with the porn situation. Oh, but what I wanted to say is I actually think a lot of people are addicted to their phones or addicted to websites and things online, but they don't want to admit it. I was in my Chinese class the other day, and we were talking about, the word addiction came up, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm addicted to my phone." And I was just joking, but I was also serious. It's like, yeah, I'm totally, like, I can totally admit that I'm addicted to it. But what was funny to me was that no one else was like, yeah, I am too. And I'm just thinking, like, come on, guys. Like, I'm not the only one that scrolls through my phone every time I have 1 second of downtime. I know everybody else was doing it too, but nobody could admit it. So similar with porn, with a porn issue, with a porn addiction, the first thing you got to do is admit it. So what are some signs that you're addicted to porn? I would say let's see, hold on, because I've got a good article up here that I want to kind of go through a little bit. Okay, so I would say one way you could find out if you're addicted to porn is if you want to stop watching it, but you can't stop watching it. Okay? So, like, if you're somebody who is like, look, I don't want to watch any more porn, but I still pull it up, I still look at it, I still watch it, then I would say you've got an addiction. You've got a problem. Another one would be is if you actually know you can stop, but you're just not. You know, like you haven't reached that point where you're like, I really have to stop. Where you could, you physically could. You know, there are some people that have super addictive personalities where they really just can't get their hands off the rooster. You know, and I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I'm an angel here. I mean, I'm a dude, and we already have a proclivity to mess with ourselves anyway. And once you start throwing in porn, I mean, man, I'll tell you what, there were plenty of times throughout, you know, high school or college, mostly college, where it got mostly out of hand because I've said before in high school, some of the websites weren't as easily accessible in high school as they were in college. And that was not because I didn't have my own computer, but just because the actual websites themselves developed and changed from having to download and pay sites to from peer-to-peer stuff. It changed to streaming, and it changed to streaming like all kinds of stuff. So as that changed and it became more plentiful, then, you know, not just me. I mean, I know lots of friends who, a lot of guys, I mean, it's very common to watch just a lot of porn. So I'd say, you know, if you want to stop watching it, but you really can't, then you're probably addicted. I'd say another one is if it's kind of a go-to routine for you. So like if you kind of have a daily or multiple times a week routine of like going to porn sites, and it's automatic, like you don't even really have to think about it, you just kind of do it, then I would say, yeah, you've got a bit of an issue. You probably at least want to take a look at it and acknowledge it's a problem. And, you know, okay, so then also, where are you looking at it? So are you looking at it are you so into it that you're on your phone in the car with your girlfriend or your family and you can't help but look at porn? Like, that's a problem. Or if you're on the bus from work, that's a problem. If you are in public settings looking at porn, then that's a problem. And I would say it's not a problem as in like you're a morally or ethically bad person. It's a problem as in the porn, it has taken such a hold of you, such a hold of your of the parts of your brain that act out in the world, that is what you're going to first. Or that's one of the first things you go to when you're bored. And that's another aspect of it. When you're bored, are you going to fucking watch porn? Right? So I would say you got to really look at yourself introspectively and think like, dude, do I have a problem? And, you know, for me, I realized I had a problem. I just realized that there were a few instances in my life where I was like, oh my goodness, like this is affecting, it's like affecting how I look at people. It's affecting my expectations. It was just, it's one of those things where you can, if you're really honest with yourself, you can find points in your life where it changes your perspective, maybe of what you find attractive, or doesn't change it as in like does an overhaul of what you find attractive, but pushes you, nudges you in directions that you're not proud of, right? Like if you are, you know, if you just find yourself getting into some like really, really specific kind of stuff that you're like, you know, 10 years ago that would have been weird, but now it's just kind of normal, you know, like you need to, maybe you want to take a look at yourself and say, I think I should take a step back. And not that there's anything wrong with people getting into fetishes or getting into very specific particular types of porn, but you don't, if you are watching stuff that like you're just kind of like, man, I really wish I wasn't watching it, then yeah, you should probably stop. You probably have a problem. And I would say I would estimate with my bro logic and my bro science, I think most guys that watch porn have probably experienced that thought many times Many times you've finished watching porn, you're like, why did I watch that? Or, man, why am I getting into that? You know, like maybe you're kind of going down weird paths that you just wouldn't have thought that you went down. And the availability of porn has made it to where that's easy, man. It's easy to get into a habit of watching stuff that you're like, that was kind of weird. Why did I watch that? You know, I was never into feet before, and now I love looking at women's toenails. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about myself, but you get what I'm talking about. So, the first thing is you gotta admit, if you want to quit porn, you gotta admit you have a problem. So take a look at like, what are your habits, man? You know, like when are you doing it? The other thing is this, like if you've got a girlfriend and you're having sex on a regular basis, or, you know, like you don't, but you're still like, I need to go jerk it, then that's another issue. You know, I would say like if you've got a girlfriend and you guys are getting it on the regular, you shouldn't be watching that much porn probably. Now, I'm not saying that you should never watch it, but it's like I've known people that had girlfriends that actually had trouble getting with their girlfriends, but they had no problem watching porn. And when I say having trouble getting with their girlfriends, I mean like they just didn't see the desire as being there as much, but like they could watch porn all day. And so it's like, okay, that's where you've got to look at yourself and say, oh, I have a problem here. I should probably take steps to make a change. So let's talk about making the change. First, let's thank Anchor for sponsoring this episode. Okay, guys, so get your hands off your roosters. I know that what you were doing while the break was on. I know you're all heavily addicted to the sound of my voice, and you can't help yourself but touch your private parts. And I know this is could be a sensitive topic for people to talk about, especially guys. You know, we don't like to admit all this shit. So let's talk about getting off the porn. First off, I want to tell you that I am going to go ahead and attempt to liberate myself from the pornographies. I actually currently don't watch a lot of porn. I've reduced it down to just a couple times in a month. And I haven't even looked at that since, actually, it's funny, since No Nut November started, I haven't watched any porn. But before that, I had reduced it significantly. So let's go through some steps. This is an article written by a guy named Ed Lattimore. He was a boxer. He's a kind of a prolific blogger nowadays. I appreciate what he has to say. He's great on Twitter. He says, he's got an article here, How to Quit Porn. He says, this is the plan I used to quit porn. This is real, battle-tested, science-backed, reality-based plan to break up with porn and the embarrassment that comes with it. And that's interesting, too. He talks about the embarrassment because, you know, like I said in the previous segment, there are times where, like, I would say a lot of the times I was not embarrassed. But there were times where you would watch something and be like, what am I doing? You know? Anyway, so he says pornography is like any other drug. Okay. This isn't advice based on theory of addiction. Okay, so he kind of cuts through the thing about what this is. He says most literature on the internet talks about inner feelings or inner healing, finding your motivations for dealing with porn. You find God and lots of other shit not relevant to actually kicking the habit. So, good point here. So if you're trying to figure out why you're addicted to porn, he's trying to say that could very well be a waste of time. You don't need to worry about why you're watching it. Just stop watching it. So how can you stop doing that? I love that. He says feeling complete and whole is good, but it doesn't exactly help solve the problem. You wouldn't tell a crackhead to do some soul searching. I love that. So yeah, he goes off a little bit on how, if you have an addiction, you got to end it. And yes, it's nice to do some soul searching to figure out why you have the problem, but really, let's get on with it. So he doesn't address if you should or you should not quit porn. But if you want to quit porn, he says the first step is to delete your browsing history. He says this is one of the most popular tips for dealing with porn addiction that has real merit. Porn sites employ clever tricks to keep you coming back. One is making sure that when you type www in your browser, the first cache site is a porn site. Aside from giving your friends a chance to make fun of you every time they use your computer, it cleverly puts the idea in your mind to revisit the porn sites instead of your original plan. Very true. So, I like that. First piece of advice, delete your browsing history. Now, I should tell you right now, if you are using your regular computer to look at porn, bro, you got a problem. So I say that. I don't know what people use. I never used, actually probably since 7 years ago, I have not used a actual computer I work with or do actual shit on to do, what is it? I haven't used a computer that I do actual work on and do regular stuff on to watch porn in many years. And you shouldn't either, because I think that's just asking for viruses and problems. So first thing, delete your browsing history. Second one, don't touch your dick is what he says, except for necessary functions. I like this. There are only 3 times a man should touch his penis: cleaning, urinating, and jerking off. When you have to do the first 2, you should be able to do the last one without porn. I like that. Celibacy is not the goal. Men have been polishing the pole for centuries without porn. Some men need porn to jerk off. They also watch porn without the desire to get off, which creates a desire to masturbate. So, this is similar to the, he talks about how your mind is conditioned. So, basically, don't start touching your piece unless you're going to use the restroom or clean yourself, or you already have the intention of jerking it. So if you're just playing around, all of us guys know this. Hey man, you're just scrolling through, you're reading the news, you're scrolling through Twitter, and you got your hands down your pants. Before you know it, you're like, oh, that felt kind of good. And then before you know it, it's off to the races. So don't do that. So, and I like how he says that basically guys that watch porn without the desire to get off, some men need porn to jerk off, and they also watch porn without the desire to get off, and then it creates the desire to masturbate. Very true. I've experienced this myself, though it's been a while. So, touching your penis outside of showering or pissing makes you want to watch porn. Stop touching your dick beyond essential functions. I love this. He says this will also make actual sex even better. Yes, true. Get physical. This is the third piece of advice. Get physical. Get away from the computer. He says that in order to get away from your conditioning, you need to go out and do something physical. So burn off some energy, go for a run, lift some weights. And the last piece of advice is go out and meet women. So go out, push yourself out of your comfort zone, and because basically, the more time you spend watching porn, the less time you're going to spend trying to meet people in real life. And that's true. If you think, oh, I'm just going to go home and watch porn, then that's a problem. And I think I even discussed one time that there was somebody I found attractive, and my first thought did not go to, oh, I should go up and say hi to them. It was like my first thought was whether or not I could find that person in a porno. Or not that person, but a lookalike. That was one point in my life where I was like, oh yeah, that's an issue. That's a problem that I need to take care of. So you heard it, man, from this guy, and I really think it's solid. And I'm going to give my own ideas. So he says, 1, delete your browsing history. So that way when you type in stuff, the porn doesn't come up. Don't touch yourself unless you already have a plan to. So you're going to shower, you're going to take a piss, you're going to touch yourself. Get away from the computer. So unless you're taking care of work or getting your shit done, get away from the computer. Don't just start looking up porn. And meet some women. Really good advice from Ed Lattimore. So I'll give you my own steps as well. So I am not like free of watching it completely. It's only been a few weeks since I've totally stopped watching it. But I can tell you what I used to start backing off of it big time. So I've actually gone through, for a couple years, I went through some ups and downs of restricting the actual usage of watching it. And I'll tell you some tips that I used. So when I learned, first off, when I learned that your men's testosterone has a peak level of after a few days of not jacking off. So if you're just masturbating, then if you're masturbating too often, it can be it can decrease your testosterone. So one, that was something that helped me go, okay, I want high levels of testosterone, so I should jack off less. So that helped initially. So I said, okay, I kind of scheduled it to where I would do like twice a week. Twice a week, I would say, okay, I can watch porn and jerk it twice a week. Then I got that down to once a week. So, and like I said, I had a couple times where I broke from this pattern over like a 2-year period. But over the last year, I was really good, really good about like a once a week deal. So that once you get yourself down to to a schedule, it might sound funny, but like legit, once you get yourself down to a schedule, you'll notice that you'll have an increase in energy, an increase in drive for your testosterone, and it'll make sense why you're holding off. And you'll also find that like, oh, I went from watching porn like 3 or 4 times a week to twice a week to once a week. And so you can start scheduling it off. Like, okay, if you already have a problem, start by saying, all right, instead of just whenever I feel like it, I can only watch it 3 times a week, right? Then I can only do it twice a week. Then I can do it once a week. Now, this was also with jerking it as well. So I had myself on a schedule. Now, since the No Nut November time frame, I went the opposite direction where I was like just jerking it all the time. But I didn't watch any porn. So what I would say to somebody who's trying to quit porn, I just don't think that you can quit cold turkey. I think that's a bad idea. I would say start scaling back. Once you have what you think is a good amount of control, then I would say cut the porn completely. But I am experimenting with not giving yourself a restriction on how many times you masturbate in the week. But it's just you can't use porn. Then from there, if you still want to worry about your testosterone, then decrease it from there. But you've eliminated the porn from the equation. What's funny about that is some of the effects are immediate. So like when you stop watching porn, you immediately view people that are in your physical vicinity as more attractive. Like you just do. Like when you're at the gym or in the store or whatever, like women that you maybe previously would be like, oh, she doesn't fit my exact porn type. You start finding a lot more people attractive. So, let's do this, guys. I think a lot more people should take this pledge. I think more people should quit the porn. I also think society likes to control men via porn. It likes to turn us into lifeless zombies where we don't go out into the world and do shit. Instead, we stay home and watch our computers. We don't go out and create things we want to create in the world. It takes away from our life force. So let's get off the porn. Now, if you want to read my insightful blogs, you can go to tstuch.com, tstuch.com. Follow me on YouTube and subscribe. Taylor Stutch on YouTube, Taylor space Stutch, Stuch. Follow me on Twitter, tstuch1, tstuch1. You can email me at tayradio1@gmail.com, tayradio1@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Send me comments, questions, feedback. Thank you.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.